1. Albert Anastasia. On the morning of October 25, 1957, Albert Anastasia walked into the barbershop of the Park Sheraton Hotel in Manhattan. He sat in the chair, waiting for his shave, unaware it would be his last. Moments later, two masked men burst in, pushed the barber aside, and opened fire. Confused, Anastasia lunged at their reflections in the mirror, striking at ghosts. The gunman kept shooting until he collapsed dead on the floor. Anastasia had built his reputation as one of the most feared men in organized crime. Known as the Lord High Executioner, he co-founded Murder, Inc., a group of contract killers. For the Mafia, he ruled New York's docks and later became boss of what would be called the Gambino crime family. But his violent temper and reckless behavior made him unpredictable. Rumors said he was selling Mafia memberships for cash and gambling away fortunes. His underboss, Carlo Gambino, saw the chaos and joined rivals who wanted Anastasia gone. That October morning, their plan succeeded. The man who once executed others met his own execution. 2. Al Capone. During Prohibition, no name carried more weight than Al Capone. In Chicago, he ruled through fear, money, and charisma. His gang ran illegal breweries and gambling dens, and when rivals refused to cooperate, he answered with bullets. The most infamous was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929. When 7 men from a rival gang were lined up and shot, the government couldn't catch him for murder, but they found another way. In 1931, Capone was convicted of tax evasion and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Behind bars, his health collapsed. Years of untreated syphilis destroyed his mind, leaving him confused and childlike. Released in 1939, he retreated to Florida, where, on January 25, 1947, the once feared Scarface died of a heart attack. The man who built an empire of crime had been undone by his own body. 3. Vito Genovese. Vito Genovese wanted to be king. In the 1950s, he pushed out Frank Costello, ordered the murder of Albert Anastasia, and declared himself boss of the most powerful mafia family in New York, but his ambition exposed him. In 1957, he organized the Appalachian Meeting, a secret gathering of mob leaders from across America. Police raided it, and for the first time, the public saw proof the mafia was real. 2 years later, Genovese was convicted on drug trafficking charges. He insisted it was a setup by his rivals, but it didn't matter. From prison, he tried to control his family, but his power faded. On Valentine's Day, 1969, Vito Genovese died of a heart attack in federal custody. The man who once dreamed of being the Mafia's emperor, forgotten behind bars. 4. Carlo Gambino. Quiet, patient, and calculating. Carlo Gambino was the opposite of men like Capone or Gotti. He avoided the spotlight, and that's what made him powerful. After Albert Anastasia's assassination in 1957, Gambino became boss of his own family, one that would soon bear his name. Under his leadership, the Gambino family became the richest and most stable of all the New York families. He controlled shipping, trucking, and the docks. Using businessmen as much as enforcers, he rarely went to prison, and when he died of natural causes in 1976, he had outlived nearly every rival. To his men, he wasn't just a boss, he was a legend of quiet control. 5. John Gotti. John Gotti was everything Gambino wasn't. Flashy suits, cameras, crowds, he loved being seen. After orchestrating the assassination of Paul Castellano in 1985, Gotti became the new head of the Gambino family. Ruling from social clubs and television headlines, the media called him the Dapper Don. But fame is dangerous. The FBI bugged his conversations. His underboss turned informant. By 1992, Gotti was convicted of 5 murders, racketeering, and more. He spent the rest of his life in a cell. When he died of throat cancer in 2002, the crowd at his funeral was small, and no other mafia families came. The man who once controlled New York's biggest family died as a symbol of its fall. 6. Frank Costello. Frank Costello was different from most mob bosses. He preferred boardrooms over back alleys. Known as the Prime Minister of the Underworld, he built his empire by mixing crime with politics, influencing judges, police, and even City Hall. But in 1957, his time ran out. As he entered his Manhattan apartment, a gunman stepped from the shadows and fired. The bullet grazed his head. He survived, but his power didn't. The shooter, Vincent Gigante, was working for Vito Genovese. Within days, Costello stepped aside, ending his reign. He lived quietly after that, offering advice to younger bosses. When he died of a heart attack in 1973, the world had already changed and the era of men like him was over. 6 men, 6 stories of power, betrayal, and downfall. From Albert Anastasia's shocking death in a barbershop to John Gotti's rise as the Dapper Don. This video uncovers the dark history of America's most infamous mafia bosses. Watch how their empires were built and how each one fell.